So with that, hi and welcome to After the Hype with me, your host, as always, Brian Dressel. With me, as always, is Jonathan Hardesty.
Sup?
Chewie Darso.
Hello.
Ryan, he's not here today. Sadly, he is a bastard, as we all know, and he perished in the Battle of the Bastards.
Oh, did he get trampled?
He did get trampled.
When those bodies hit the floor, they hit Ryan first.
Now all I hear is when the bodies hit the floor.
Have any of you guys watched the video of the old man doing that at America's Got Talent?
I have not.
It's fantastic.
I'll take your word for it.
That was like big, and then like the whole Orlando shooting happened, and then they kind of wasn't a viral video anymore.
Yeah, they kind of gave up on all the fun stuff.
All the bodies did hit the floor. Not good.
So for new time guests, we have Brock Walters on. You just heard his voice.
Hello.
Hi, Brock.
Thanks for having me.
And then for frequent guests, we have Elliot Campos on.
Hello, hi.
You were just on a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, you couldn't get enough.
Yeah, it works out. I don't think you've ever been on a battle episode, though, before, have you?
No,
I don't think so,
feel unprepared for the onslaught
Perfect.
I'm about to endure.
That's exactly what we want to hear. So if you don't remember, we can find Elliot. Elliot, where can we find you online again?
My Twitter is Escape ELL, and I also do 2 other podcasts. One is Beyond School. It is an audio play about a teenage girl who battles evil aliens. And the second is called Superhero Sampler, co-hosted by another frequent After the Hyper, Samantha. And you can find that both of these podcasts on our Facebook pages as well, Beyond School and Superhero Sampler. Superhero Sampler, we talk about the best and worst of superhero television.
What about you, Brock? Where can people find you online or in life, or if they want to see you in person, and not just stalking ways?
I'm Brock Walters on all social media. I do stand-up. I don't know when this is coming out.
This will come out next Thursday.
Next Thursday. So tonight I will be at the Goodnight Bar in North Hollywood doing Canteen Points, which is a fun stand-up show.
Okay. Yeah, let's get started. Where have you been doing before we get into the battle of the day? I will go first with Where Have You Been Doing? I just love that title.
Why don't you marry it? Jeez.
If I could, but I'm already married to somebody who is not that title.
You could marry something that's not actually alive. That would be interesting.
It would be a trick.
That is opening the door to a very uncomfortable realm.
He would marry Dark Souls.
I would marry Dark Souls so fast. And it would be the most abusive relationship. One of us is going to jail.
And dying a lot.
Yeah. So I've been playing Saints Row 4 re-elected for the PS4, and it is it's decent. It's fun. It's exactly what it looked like in all the trailers when it came out like 2 years ago. I do kind of have a soft spot for Saints Row. They're always really fun games. They're just kind of corny and stupid. But there was something about like Saints Row 2 where there's a legitimate story, and it was about fighting other gang lords and trying to like take over the city. That was really fun and cool, and actually had some like emotional punches to it. And now that's just gone in the way of mini games and kind of crazy antics, which were fun. But I kind of miss the actual storytelling that they were capable of.
I watched that. There's a finale that was on. You know, you may have heard of it. Game of Thrones.
No, I never heard of it.
Yeah,
it might have eaten one of our co-hosts, but
yeah,
I don't know.
But yeah, I watched the finale. It was a whole what was it, 80-some minutes?
It was a long one.
It was a really long one, and it was one of the better episodes of the season.
Well, given the season that they had, it's
until the last 5 minutes, that was such a mixture of emotions.
I like the last 5 minutes.
Well, that's what I liked the last 5 minutes, but I was also frustrated by the last 5 minutes.
Fair.
Yeah, that's a common refrain in Game of Thrones. I like this moment, but I hated this moment.
In the last week, the first thing I wanted to do was rewatch all of Magnum PI.
How'd that go for you?
Terribly. Apparently, it's not Netflix anymore. It's not on Hulu. And then online it says that NBC streams it if you sign up for their something, download their app. So I did that on 2 different platforms, and it's not actually on there. They're a bunch of liars. I was very frustrated.
In the history of Magnum PI, you've been the most devoted to trying to watch it out of any of their fans.
I just wanted to watch Tom Selleck in a floral top, but so that failed. So I've just been buffing up on my new job, which I'm going to be joining Superstore come the 11th. So I've been starting to watch that show, and I'm really enjoying it.
It's surprisingly
funny. It's got
funny.
some great gags going on, and the cast of characters is fun. The girl that's supposed to be in high school, looks like she's 25.
Yeah.
So, but I'll let that go.
It's an NBC comedy.
Yeah.
That happens. But her boyfriend is hysterical.
He is. He looks like a cartoon.
Johnny Pemberton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really funny.
So I highly recommend watching Superstore because it actually is quite hilarious and totally deserves a second season. Plus, I'm going to be working on that season. So watch it so I can continue to work.
Brock, what about you? Where have you been doing?
My girlfriend was out of town last week, so I started rewatching The Sopranos because I was like, it's been 17 years.
Yeah, might as well go back.
I've
to
forgotten most of season 1.
It's a solid first season.
It is, but like the filmmaking isn't like the best. There's like a lot of zooms instead of dollies. And I'm like, oh, you guys were groundbreaking, I thought, but I was just like, it's kind of lazy filmmaking here in the first season.
Story-wise, they're groundbreaking, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it gets. I mean, once they started pumping like $2 million per episode,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna get a lot better.
I think it's around season 3 that like the filmmaking quality matches the story quality.
Yeah, because it just seems a little sloppy that first season. I finished the first season last night.
I love that season finale with them in like the forest running down the guy to murder him.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's a good show.
Spoiler.
I said they and the guy. I think that's going to be okay. Elliot, what about you?
I've kind of made it my mission this year to catch up with all these live action DC shows that are going on. I never took the plunge, and it's gotten to the point where it's gotten completely out of control with all these spin-offs and expanded universes and whatnot.
Animated spinoffs.
It's wild. But I started going through Arrow at the start of this year, and now I'm finally at the point where The Flash is launching.
Right.
So I'm kind of doing that double duty, watching an episode of Arrow, watching an episode of The Flash. It's kind of annoying. I have a list on my phone of the order that I'm supposed to watch them at, so it feels not quite as easy as watching TV in our lazy culture should be.
Right.
But I think The Flash is really entertaining. It's very dynamic and big superhero stuff, as opposed to Arrow, which is very dark and brooding.
And Batman.
Yeah, and it's a Batman show without Batman.
Yeah, totally.
Basically. The Flash is just like, you know what? We're putting him in that costume from day one.
Yep.
It's going to be so goofy. I watched all 10 seasons of Smallville, which is Clark Kent doing everything that involves being Superman without actually putting on the damn costume. So the fact that Barry Allen is right there in that red jumper from Jump Street just makes me so happy. I'm on episode 4, which introduces the Wentworth Miller character,
Yep.
Oh my
Captain
gosh.
Cold.
So good.
Being a Prison Break fan, it delights me to no end to see Mr. Miller as a criminal mastermind. Mm-hmm. And I am just really excited to see how this show evolves and hopefully just gets bigger and better.
Are you excited for Prison Break to come back?
Well, I know
It's
that-
hole time. It's time to dig another hole.
Okay, I think we should get started on the battle of the day. Now, the
We still
battle-
have a full episode. Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, we still have to go down that whole thing. So today, if you are a fan of our battle episodes, you're tuning into this one, welcome back. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're changing up the battles a little bit. 'Cause
What?
I've been listening to people who talk to me about it, and they say that the 10 minutes of just one person talking can get a little boring if not everyone is on their game, which we usually are, but every now and then somebody kind of runs out of gas at around 8 minutes.
To quote a great movie, I blame myself.
Yes.
I blame you too.
Yeah,
Nice.
we all know it's John's fault.
Yeah.
Or Ryan's. We'll blame Ryan because he's not here.
Yeah, he's not here.
Fucking Ryan.
Fuck that
Jesus.
Bringing everything down.
Going to Portugal.
God, what a dick.
Being buried under bodies and getting lost in space. And like,
Hey, at least you found Heather Graham.
yeah.
So we're changing it today. So today we're going to do 5 minutes. So you get 5 minutes to defend your film. The shakeup is that after that 5 minutes, now we as a group get 5 minutes to try to take your film down. And it's your job to defend it the best you can, which who knows if we'll do a good job. I hope. At the end, we will still hold who did the best job defending it or defending it against us, and we'll vote around the table. Can't vote for your own, and we'll have a winner for the day. The theme for today, which I should probably mention, is 4th of July movies. And I went a little loosey-goosey on this one. Originally, I was going to stick to you just had to do a movie that celebrated the 4th of July. Turns out that's a little difficult. We did get a couple people who got there. I got there. Chewie got there. And I
Yeah.
think that's it.
Yeah.
And then I was going to do movies that are patriotic. And even that's a little bit tough. So we're basically doing movies that make you feel like it's the 4th of July. And I think that's their best way to get everybody involved around the table.
So then once you hear our selections, it's actually going to be pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad that most movies that are actually patriotic are just war films.
Yeah, I'm glad that really none of us chose an all-out war film. Chewie came the closest. But other than that, like, we didn't do like We Were Soldiers Once or The Patriot.
Isn't John's a little more like actual war film?
I mean, his is more. I mean, I guess they're both kind of close, but his isn't a war film either. His is more of a guerrilla
War.
whatever.
Like an insurgent sort of.
Insurgents, I like that. Yeah, that works. Either way, so the movies for the day. Mine is The Sandlot. John,
Mine is Red Dawn, the original.
not the Chris Hemsworth version.
Right.
Oof. I saw it. Chewie,
The Great Escape.
Brock,
The Burbs.
Elliot.
Dave.
Which when Brian told me that, I was like, what?
The fuck is Dave?
I've never heard of this movie.
I had never seen it until last night, and I have to say, nothing yet. So yeah, these are movies that make the people around the table feel like it's the 4th of July. Questionably for some, not questionably for others. But that's what the defense is for. Who would like to go first? John does. As he just tries not to make eye contact, to stare forward. Not me, not me, not me, not me.
Okay.
So John gets to take us off. You ready?
Yep, I'm good.
All right, your 5 minutes starts now.
All right, I picked Red Dawn, and don't read into that as about my personality. It gave me the thought of 4th of July in the quick of it. Very patriotic movie, very kind of rah. And this is actually the first time I've seen this, because I was like, I need something that's just really kind of lots of guns, lots of just really aggressive, we are great sort of thing. And this had all of that. I want to point out a few things that really stuck out to me that fit this feeling of 4th of July as I kind of started to seriously look into it, because I thought this was going to be kind of surface level and dumb. And there was a few things in there that I was like, okay, it was really getting me into the spirit of it. That Rough Rider quote on the statue in the beginning, far better it is to dare mighty things, just kind of carried that through the whole movie. Everyone just acted, and they weren't content to just sit around and let things happen. It was like, we got to do it. We got to fight back. Take it all back with our guns, which is
With our guns.
our guns. There's even an NRA quote on there too, which
Of course there is.
of course there is. But weirdly, just because of the time period, it felt very different than if they were to do that now.
Which they did.
Yeah. And
Did they change the country, though? The invading country?
Yeah.
Wasn't it North Korea?
It was supposed to be China, and then they changed it to North Korea.
That's right. Okay, sorry, John.
well, and then I liked that it wasn't just one country. It was like every other country was bad. They all kind of joined forces and attacked us. It was kind of a mix. I like that there was screen time for the villains, and there was one guy who actually kind of had his own arc through the movie, which you don't necessarily see that if you're going to be like all other countries are bad and we Americans are good. It was kind of a nice little twist, and it has that. That's pretty cool. The kind of the whole scrappy kids joining together to take down the enemy element of it felt very patriotic, and just you watching that, you feel kind of inspired in some way as you're watching this. Take all the cynicism and modern politics out of it. It does feel pretty exciting. Like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna take them on. Don't let these, don't cry for me ever again. Like Harry
Don't
Dean
cry for
Stanton.
me, Argentina.
That's exactly where my head went.
Yeah. Woo. But just this whole element of just don't sit down, don't take this, and turn that anger into something else. There was kind of that element they kept telling each other, like, turn it into something else. These bad things are happening. We just gotta persevere. And there was a lot of a kind of a patriotic spirit in that, which I really liked, and it really kind of turned me around from watching this kind of from a cynical way to be more like, yeah, near the end. And then just the combat and the tactics was interesting to see that for them being kids, they had, they were pretty smart, but the movie still pointed out that they were still kids who, were dealing with this. It was having a hard time dealing with it, but they weren't idiots either. They were taken out. I mean, maybe it's actually kind of a stab against the other invading countries because their security is super lax.
Well, it's that, and it's just, America's the best.
And America's the best. Some good performances all around. I was not expecting to see this as a prequel to Dirty Dancing.
It kind of
or
is.
a sequel, actually. No, a sequel. She goes on from having a wonderful dance to, her end in this movie, blowing shit up. She is actually great. Every time she was in the movie, she was like running away from something, and it's like, something's going to blow up. This is fun.
Mm-hmm.
She was really kind of a threat. And
I mean, they all were.
They all were, but
That's
just
why
it was
they're the Wolverines.
it was fun that everyone kind of had their own unique thing going on. And then let's see what else.
Like, what's his name goes completely crazy.
Yep, goes completely crazy.
Kills his friend.
Then there's the
C.
still
Thomas Howell.
and this movie has like the moments of calm where the character moments, which I wasn't kind of expecting. When he's watching the tanks in the battlefield and he's like, so this whole countryside is a battlefield now, huh? And the pilot's just like, that's what war is. Like, there was kind of this growing up. There was a lot of growing up too, which feels kind of in spirit with the whole kind of taking charge and moving forward. Very patriotic stuff. And then the two brothers, how they kind of, their poetic end, I guess. They were back in the park where they played as kids. And
Yeah,
that was
30
like-
seconds left for your defense.
that's what you see of them. And I just like what this, I don't know, I was feeling one way towards the movie at the beginning when it was fairly kind of in your face. And then at the end I was like, this is actually kind of inspiring. And I could see why it, did fairly well, and why you could, and I also see too why you could take it further with modern politics.
Okay. Anything else you want to say? You got 15 seconds.
Wolverines!
I was going to say, if you didn't get that in there at least once, then you just completely failed in your argument. All right. So this is where any of us around the table can say anything we want to try to destroy your film. I'm going to go first. You'd never seen it?
I'd never seen it before.
You decided to try to defend a movie you'd never even seen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's been on my blind spot for a while.
Okay.
I know that the remake came out, and I've basically heard about a lot of this through osmosis. There's a lot of these movies where through the pop culture you get kind of a sense of the movie, and you're like, I should see this. And then, 10, 15 years pass, and like you haven't seen it yet. And I felt like this would be a good excuse. I was going to originally go with The Patriot, something that was also along those lines, but I was like, I don't know. I've seen that movie. It wasn't that, I didn't like it that much.
So you
I
didn't
needed
have
something-
any films in your childhood that
Made you feel like
made
the
you
Fourth
feel
of July.
that
No.
made you feel. You don't have any films that make you feel patriotic or proud to be American.
Apparently just a Red Dawn.
A movie he's never seen.
Yeah, a movie he's never seen.
But we've also already covered some of these movies too.
That's
'cause
fair.
the-
We
like-
have covered a lot of movies
we
in
just
the past
did.
3
We
years.
did do Independence
That's
Day.
fair.
And that would have been like that. My mind first went there because of Bill
Yeah.
Pullman's speech and all that.
Right.
So I wanted to attack this from a different angle, something that would evoke that, going in blind would make me feel those kind of feelings of patriotism and things like that, regardless of the quality of the movie. I like a new experience. So
Okay, so how about the arguments that a lot of people have had against this movie of the children and violence aspect? Like, this movie really does promote.
But it's a propaganda film. That's
Yeah.
my biggest problem with Red Dawn is that it's a film made during the Cold War, and it very much stews the sense of patriotism, but to me, in a negative way, because it's all about paranoia and like these
Yeah.
are coming. We need to be prepared. Our children need to be prepared, and our children need to be prepared to
It's
die.
xenophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
And it's just like that. I'm not really into those type of films.
no. And that was one thing to kind of work around with that. And I kind of knew that going in, that there was going to be these things that were problematic. So I looked to the other elements, like how the kids related to each other. And violence with kids doesn't really bother me that much. I mean, I've watched Battle Royale and find that to be a really,
It's one of my favorite movies.
really
of all
great
time.
movie. And there's kids lopping arms off each other there. And like,
Yeah.
the violence doesn't bother me as much.
Violence for children never bothers me. It's the glorification that to be like it's patriotic to want to go to war and you're gonna die a hero.
Yeah.
I mean, just that whole like warmongering mindset.
But the movie also gave kind of time for memorial for like the kids who died. They wrote on the rocks. There was like this. There was more. Like there was that element, but then they took the time to give these characters more. Feelings and aspirations
they have
and
more,
worries.
but I could still make the argument that none of the characters, by the end of the movie, none of them are really redeemable other than Patrick Swayze anymore. Like, the rest of them kind of all go especially C. Thomas Howell murders his friend.
Ugh.
Like, it just kind of like, he just kind of goes nuts and machine guns his friend. Like, as soon as Patrick Swayze is like, all right, I think we're going to let him go, and C. Thomas Howell just walks up. Like, the movie just kind of gets like
But then
cartoonishly brutal.
But then at the same time, on that flip side, it allows Patrick Swayze to really to affect him. Like there was that moment, like most movies would just skip, like that were strictly for propaganda, would just skip over that element where he's just like, I can't take it. I'm gonna just cry the shit out of this. Like
That is nice. That doesn't have too much of a glossy sheen on it, where
Yeah,
it shows
it-
you a little bit of the dirtiness.
You're supposed to be insulting the movie right now.
Whatever.
Stop helping it.
I think this movie is a real fantasy for a lot of people in our country who cling to their guns and see them as the only thing keeping them safe.
Oh yeah, the
from
whole like, why do I need
outsiders,
this
attackers,
automatic?
aggressors, and in the world that we live in, we really need to be less worried about hypothetical gun battles that will spring up out of nowhere and be more concerned about the very negative effects that guns are having on our country. Repeatedly every week, all this slaughter that's happening.
Yeah.
So my main qualm with choosing a movie like this as the victor of this battle royale is that it's celebrating a very specific version of how Americans should behave in their lives, like being ready to go to war, have those guns at the ready. All outsiders are bad. You mentioned that it's all these countries that are banding against America. A lot of Americans have this incredible persecution complex for no reason. Like, we have a really good country, and we don't need to be so scared that we're in danger that we need to arm ourselves to the teeth and not introduce common sense gun laws. And that's your political moment for the day.
Well, and that's what's interesting is that this brings up discussions that are relevant today. And there's still elements of it makes you. It made me think because it's like I'm looking at this from the other side. Again, why I watched it blind is that I could come in and be like, come in without kind of the biases into it because I'd only heard what people experienced from the movie. I don't know. It made me think. I don't know. Yeah, it made me.
And you're out of time.
Oh.
Brock, did you have anything you wanted to say about that one really quick or no?
No, I like Red Dawn. I believe that it brought down the Cold War.
Yeah, but you can't let Jonathan beat you, bro.
And
Gotta
that's
take
why I remained silent. I did not want to. I believe Reagan's administration commissioned the film, and they did a very good job.
Oh no.
Tear down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev.
Yeah.
Well, that's
after this
Germany. That's
episode,
nothing to
I'll
do with
say
the
my
Cold
real
War.
opinion of Red Dawn,
Well, it
but I'll
does
wait
then.
till after the episode.
Yeah.
So,
No,
very-
I just liked that it was different. It was interesting. It was an interesting thing to try to do for this.
fair enough. I'll go next. I
I
have.
had nothing bad to say about it.
All right, so
With
I
a
have
question
the
mark.
Sandlot, and I'm going right now, so we don't keep going down the gun route. So the reason why I picked the Sandlot specifically when I'm thinking about the 4th of July is not just the 4th of July moment, which is why that movie always triggers in my head when I think of the 4th of July, which is the greatest moment. Not the greatest moment in the movie, like a really great moment in the movie where it's the only time they can play at night because there's no lights at the Sandlot. And the fireworks in the sky are so bright that they can play one game over the summer at night. And that's just a really kind of cool, sweet moment. But for me, the main reason why I picked the Sandlot and the main reason why I always love the Sandlot is that it makes you nostalgic for a moment you were not there. And that's exactly, at least to me, what the 4th of July is.
We didn't exist for another 20, 30 years.
Yeah, but the 4th of July for me is always like I remember celebrating it on the block with my neighbors back when I lived in Iowa. Like that's what the 4th of July is for me. And there will never be as much fun as it was then. And that's what the Sandlot encapsulates perfectly. It's as whatever you're doing now is great, but when you were a kid, the 4th of July, the summer were awesome. And this movie just nails everything about how awesome one summer can be. And then it does so with these like amazing characters who all have these really great nicknames that like many of us still remember. I'm wearing a shirt for one right now for Smalls. You had Benny the Jet Rodriguez. You had Squints, which eventually got the movie sued because they thought Squints was such an offensive name that they sued the movie.
What?
They lost, by the way.
Who sued?
A guy who knew the director. That's a whole different tangent. I love everything about this movie. I love Dennis Leary as the dad, who just like he's clearly the stepdad who's like he married the wife because he wanted to marry her, and a kid came along with it, and he's like, yeah, I can deal with the kid.
That's
And
just his personality type.
Yeah, and he's willing to put in the time. It's not like he's opposed to the kid, but clearly it's just like, yeah, kid comes with the marriage. You're gonna teach me how to play catch? I guess. And then beams him in the face. I love that all these kids who are in the 60s are still obsessed with a baseball player from way before their time with Babe Ruth. And I love that they never ever refer to him as Babe Ruth. It's a really great writing technique. So they always use his nicknames. The Great Bambino, which is the first one that comes to mind because it's the one that the kid doesn't know. And they do a great job making this whole like god out of Babe Ruth, which, I mean, he was good. There's no question about that, but he would be demolished in current baseball because he's a drunk and a fat guy.
Well, the only thing he was good at was hitting a ball and then getting it out, so he could just kind of jolly go through the thing.
Yeah,
But he's a mythical superhero.
He
to
is,
them,
and like that's what he is. He is their superhero. He is their Superman, and they do such a great job making him that thing, to the point where when they eventually lose his baseball, it's like that is their whole world crashing down, and it's such a great moment. Other things I love in this movie is I love the insults. Like, they have some of the best insults in a movie ever. Like, he is an L7 weenie. Like, I just love all these things. And, like, the spitball back and forth between the kids who actually play baseball for the summer for their league versus just these Sandlot kids when they come and fight off against the Ham, and just back and forth. It ends with, you play ball like a girl. It's such like a great, fun atmosphere. And they did such a good job casting this movie with these kids where they actually feel like friends. Like, you totally buy into the relationship of everyone in the movie, and you feel like with it's a thing that a lot of movies do, where they have the main character be this kind of like bland, faceless, like, hey, he's a kid. And they do it, I mean, hell, they even use it in Star Wars, arguably. It's like a way to make yourself feel like you are the main character. And they do a great job with this kid, where he's kind of shy, kind of timid, and all these kids are such a tight-knit group. So you kind of feel like him getting into the group. And then about halfway through the movie, he's no longer really the main character, and it's kind of an ensemble movie. You have the entire subplot with Squints trying to make out with the lifeguard, which is hysterical and fucked up. And they totally even say after he does it, like, he did a horrible, rotten, dirty thing. Like, they even acknowledge that you shouldn't do this. It's a really great thing of just how they do all this stuff. And then all the way up through the end of the movie, where it turns into just this hunt to get the Babe Ruth ball back. And it turns into this great kind of adventure movie of kids versus a monster, which turns out just to be kind of a friendly dog.
And Darth Vader.
And then Darth Vader shows up. And it's just like, there's so many things in this movie. It's constantly evolving. It's constantly telling different stories, but it never feels like any of the stories don't get their right due. Everything has a good end to it, and then it all kind of comes together with this great ending and an epilogue, which I still remember even when I'm not watching the movie. I still remember that the two Timmies go off and open up a supermarket. I remember, or mini mall, and I remember that Benny the Jet becomes a full-on baseball player, and that one of them, quote, got really into the 60s and no one ever saw him again. Like, there's so many great things in this movie that if anyone doesn't love it, you're out of your damn mind. Like, it's just so many great, wonderful moments that make me love it. And that's the end of my 5 minutes. All right, so what do you got?
You didn't touch upon how they promote tobacco use with children.
Oh, you noticed that, did you?
It was a simpler time.
I might have breezed over that. I don't know what you're
It
talking
was
about.
a time of self-destruction, which is why they end up going into the 60s and never seen again.
And to be fair, they do promote the use of tobacco with kids for a comedic effect, and then they never do it again. They even say, we'll stick to Big Chew after the... Not Big Chew,
I mean,
whatever
they
Big
throw
League
up
Chew?
all over
Big
each
League Chew,
other.
yeah, they throw up...
It's
Not
one of the best throw-up sequences in any movie.
It's fantastic. Thank you for helping
It is
them.
product placement. Red Men is real, so how
Yeah.
much did they pay for that?
Probably too much. To make a bunch of kids eat.
Trying to
And
think
I
of a
love how
way.
much they
Really,
eat. Like, you're not supposed to use that much chew. Like, they're just using a fuckload of it. Like,
They're,
just filling
they're
their
stupid
mouth.
kids.
Yeah.
I'm
This
trying to
is-
think of a way to derail this movie.
Well, this
the only
is a
thing I
movie.
can think. Oh,
Go ahead.
the only thing I can really think of, because this was going to be one of my choices if you hadn't. So, one of the things I can think of is that the nostalgia of it tied to a July 4th or a 4th of July or that sort of element is really person to person based. So I see the movie and I think of summer, not necessarily 4th of July and patriotism and all that sort of stuff. Per the kind
It's
of
not
the
about
overall,
patriotism.
No, but
That's
like
not in
per the
there.
overall kind of theme we're going for, it would be. I feel like I don't feel quite as connected to that other than it's just a summer movie. So I mean, I'm reaching.
Yeah, that's a reach.
Yeah, it's a reach, but that's
Because, I mean, the summer is capitalized by the 4th of July. So when
Yeah.
you think of the summer, you usually think of, like, what is, like, it's like when you think of the winter, the peak of the winter for most people is Christmas. It's the same thing for the summer. It's like the peak of the summer is 4th of July. So everything
kind
kind
of
of
good childhood. Yeah, geez.
everything kind of goes up to the 4th of July and then comes down from the 4th of July. So it's kind of like the middle of the movie. It totally works. Makes me excited for it.
But that in and of itself is also kind of a defense on your side of it too, because it is like
Yeah, it's
there's a
worth
lot to
defending.
like about this movie, and really the biggest complaint is just that I don't have quite the connection to it, and that it doesn't quite remind me of 4th of July.
But it reminds me of the summer.
Yeah.
And how about the kid committing a felony? Like, what constitutes grand larceny? Like over
It does
$10,000? That ball's got to be at least worth $10,000.
He gives it back.
Oh, destroyed.
And then one that's way better that has all of the
What would you
signatures.
do, like, if you were to ruin the Mona Lisa and you still gave it? Oh, I
Like
gave it
Mr.
back.
Bean?
Yeah,
These
yeah.
are-
Mr. Bean.
However
Again, they
much
gave it back.
we like to think that these kids are romantic and everything in this movie.
They're shits.
Yeah, for everyone else living in this neighborhood, they hate these kids.
That's what makes it so much fun and why you want to be part of them, because they're the fun, unruly kids.
They're like the example that people would use against free range parenting. Of like, these kids are terrors. They're going to everyone's lawns. They're stealing things. They're digging it up. They're building this giant something in the tree, and we
Okay,
can't
they
stop.
That's
only-
why there's indoor kids now, because people don't want their kids out with
playing
kids
baseball, getting time in the sun, being athletic, not being
Getting skin
Heavens.
cancer, scraping up their
Melanoma.
knees. So much laundry.
The summer
Come
is
on.
I
long
didn't
and
see
full of
one
terrors.
scene where any sunscreen was applied.
Yeah.
That's it. No sunscreen.
That's where I draw the
think it
line.
It was the
They're all
60s.
gonna
They didn't use
die.
a lot of sunscreen in the 60s.
And when it was hot that day, they're just drinking sodas instead of water. Like,
What were
how
you
is
doing
that?
when you were a kid? Like,
How
to
is
be-
that hydrating
to
them?
be fair, I was doing that as a kid.
That's what
too.
I did too.
Yeah.
Once I was introduced to soda, water was out.
I think that depicting children as little rascals, so to speak, is totally within the realm of possibility. I think being a kid means not being considerate of others and kind of doing whatever you want to do, breaking rules just because it's fun. I think this movie is very similar to A Christmas Story in that it is a period piece, but it just finds these perfect little moments of childhood that are just universal. to
Remember, we're
funny.
supposed to be
everyone.
bringing him down, not bringing him
I'm
up.
leading to it. I'm leading to
Okay.
it.
I was gonna
Because
say,
this is the most severe put down like I can possibly give this movie.
Oh, thank you.
This was the go-to movie in my public school system for the teachers to put on when they wanted to just relax and not teach class that day.
Oh, it's a
So,
lazy movie.
I have seen this movie hundreds of times. When I was sitting in a sweaty classroom, I want to go outside and play or go home and play video games, which was the honest truth.
Yeah.
But this movie is something that I was forced to watch at school because I had teachers who didn't want to do their job for that day because they needed a break after dealing with all of our craziness and sociopathy all school year long.
I would argue that that's why the movie is so good, because it's great for kids and any kid can watch it, proven by they even play it in school.
It's
even though they
almost
say
like,
shit twice.
not-
Time's up.
Damn it.
Look, it's great the first
They
500
don't like
times.
girls, okay? There's no girls in this movie except for
They
the
love
mom.
Wendy Peppercorn.
They just
The
want to
only
take
girl
advantage
gets
of
sexually
us.
violated.
Yeah.
Hey, they end up getting married, and they have 9 kids.
Oh, good. So she liked it. So it was okay.
So it's okay.
That argument doesn't count. There's after the timer.
Strike that from the
What
record.
did they say in
Jury, please disregard
Middle
that
Eastern
statement.
countries? Like, you're forced to marry your rapist?
Oh gosh, it's true. I'll go next.
Again,
for
all
my
of that was
movie.
after the timer. Does not count.
But I want to go next for my movie.
Inadmissible.
Inadmissible. All right, your timer has started, Chewie. What's your movie again?
My movie is The Great Escape, starring Steve McQueen, James Garner, and Richard Attenborough. Hashtag Jurassic Park man.
Which you did not know until I pointed out to you.
It's true. He does not look at all like he does not have white hair. He does not have a good grandpa beard at all in this film. He looks completely different. There was like
Strapping,
40
you
years
might
apart. Yeah. Though he does have that familiar scar,
He does.
which if you can remember from Jurassic Park.
Nope.
Where the
kinda-
dinosaur bit him?
Yeah.
No. Yes, a dinosaur.
There's
That
time
was a
travel as well.
Nazi.
Yeah.
So this movie is all about a POW camp, and it's a big mixture. There's only actually 3 Americans in it. The rest, there's a Canadian, there's some Scotsmen, there's Englishmen, there's some Frenchmen. It's just all these like really crafty dudes that the Nazis have shot down and captured. They put them all in this one camp because they're all kind of like in the Sandlot. They're all just like these scrappers that you can't control. So they're like, this is going to be the ultimate prison. And so what do? They do what any good soldier does, and they figure out how to escape over and over again. And so they do tunnels, and they ended up getting out, and then the rest of the film is just them either getting away or not getting away. And in the end, this entire film, like the reason it makes me patriotic, and the reason I think about it when I think about the 4th of July, beyond that they actually do celebrate the 4th of July in the camp in this film, / the Americans figure out how to make liquor. Go America.
Liquor and guns.
there's not really much gunplay in this movie. Very little for a movie about Nazis. But it's all about just like the great American spirit. And it's not even like specifically to Americans. It's just about the human spirit and how when you get stuck in these really terrible situations, all you can do is just keep trying to fuck it up, trying to get back at the man, which is the man is the Nazis. And they're not even trying to be too violent. They're just trying to get out and then run amok. The whole point is them getting out and then distracting the Nazis so that there's chaos within Germany, not just on the front lines, but they're just trying to do what they can as POWs. And they do a great job. Like, one of the things that Brian complains about is the lightheartedness of this film.
Yeah, I'll bring that up. I'm just waiting.
I mean, but it's true. It's about the spirit of these men doing what they needed to do and not getting depressed, which, you know, most people would do when stuck in a prison after 3 years. And they do mention that a lot, that they've been POWs for 3+ years, a lot of them, but they don't give up. Like, they still like, all right, this sucks, but we have to do what we need to do. And to me, that's very American. Like, that's very like, okay, so we do get put down, whatever. That's part of American history. But when we're getting put down, you have to stay positive. You have to work together. You have to be smart. And I think this movie celebrates that so much better, more than Red Dawn, because Red Dawn's all about the violence of not getting put down. And this is just all about the planning and thinking and working together and doing everything that you can, even though everything's stacked against you. But then the 4th of July celebration in this film just comes out of left field, really. Because it's a very plotting film. And then you get to the 4th of July and it's a surprise because you see the Americans a few times taking the potatoes and you don't really know why. And the English are looking at them and be like, why are the Americans taking all the potatoes? And so then you find out that they're distilling vodka, essentially, some super strong vodka. And all the Americans just drink it like it's nothing, and then everyone else drinks it like it's like turpentine almost. But
which does not make sense at all if you know anything about drinking in America. We get blasted by almost every other country who actually drinks.
Whatever. In this movie, we're awesome because we are, and it's fun that they put a little skit together. They figure out how to make a drum. They get an American flag somehow in a German concentration. Not
Because
concentration.
these are the worst Nazis ever. Again, I'll get into it.
Yeah.
And then they go up to the British, and then they just march up to the British, and they're like, down with the British, and the British go, hi ho, and like they understand, and they're like, let's all drink together, and then they all just get together, and it's all one big group of happy dudes getting drunk, and then they have this
allow for some reason.
Well, because it's a POW camp, you're not supposed to kill them there.
Okay. I have 15 seconds to wait till I can complain about that.
And it has one of the most like iconic things in cinema anywhere, like guy going into solitary just in a confined space, throwing his ball against the wall and staying cool. Like, they've done that in Mission Impossible. They've done it in so many cartoons. They've done it in, like, you have this movie to thank for that sequence.
In Chicken Run.
Yeah, whatever. Chicken Run is
the
silly.
better
Which is the
version.
Great Escape.
No,
which
it's
is
not.
the better version of the Great
No,
Escape.
The Great Escape is the better version of The Great Escape.
I disagree. I'd much
Ooh.
rather watch Chicken Run.
Fight.
If
And
not only
Chicken Run has an anti-Semitic guy as the main character, so
he's a rooster.
Mel
who's
Gibson.
voiced by Mel Gibson.
Why aren't the villains all in this movie just anti-Semitic?
Yeah, I would say so.
I know, but the hero of Chicken Run is anti-Semitic,
I'd say there's quite a few anti-Semitic people in this one.
which they never actually. They don't actually tap onto that
Nope.
in this film. There's no Jews in this film.
Nope, there's one.
Well, they would have
swastika, I
gotten
think, in
sent
the
to
whole
an
movie.
actual concentration camp and not a POW camp.
True.
In the words of Trump, like, I don't think we should make heroes out of people that get caught.
Oh God!
No, my
This
major.
is why Trump should not be.
Just this reason?
So
that's
many.
the one. Because he
So
hates the Great
many.
Escape.
Glad this podcast cracked it.
I hate Trump so much.
No, my major complaint with this movie, which you kind of touched on a little bit there for a second, is I hate the tone of it. And like I am not a fool. I know where it stands in like the greater scheme of great films throughout time. I understand that it is a wonderful film, but there's something about watching all of your heroes get mowed down.
Not
by
all of them.
A vast majority of the heroes.
They
getting
told
mowed.
him at the beginning of the film, if you escape again, we're going to kill you.
Sure, but still, they take a huge chunk of the heroes who we've been rooting for this whole time, watch them get out of the back of a truck, and then get mowed down by a machine gun, and then within 2 minutes we had that cheery music again, and he's like, off back to solitary to throw my ball against the wall. This is so much fun. It totally undercuts the drama of the movie. And for me, like, that's been like,
it totally
grinds
plays
my
to the
gears.
plot. It plays the plot of. They even
It
talk
plays to
about
the
the guy.
theme. It does not play to the plot. It undercuts
They
the
even
plot.
said the one dude knew the risks. He knew that he was marked by the SS, and he did exactly what he wanted to do. They escaped. They wanted to run amok. They wanted to distract the Nazis from the front, and that's what they did. He got killed doing it, but he accomplished his goal.
I understand that, but it still doesn't fit the tonality of what comes after it.
It doesn't fit the tonality of actual war, but it fits the tonality of this film, which is about how you need to accomplish your goals and stick with it no matter what. And yeah, that's why it keeps a cheery tone, because he did that. They did everything they set out to
Sure.
do.
No, but as far as like the 4th of July stuff, there's really not a complaint I can have against it, because the 4th of July scene is probably the best scene in the movie, outside of the motorcycle jump, which
It's great when they go down with the British and they go, radio.
that's a pretty good scene. I can't argue with that one.
And then the one dude gets a little like a little drunk, and he goes asks him, be like, so how are you guys doing over there? Like, like you're doing it, and then they're like, we're doing pretty great without you. It's a great sequence.
It is, but the movie as a whole, like I don't know. There's something about The Great Escape. For me, it overstays its welcome. Like 3 hours is
It is a long movie. It's 2
yeah.
hours and 51 minutes.
Yeah, it's a long
Which
sit.
we watched on Laserdisc. We had to flip it 3 times.
Sweet. Why would you flip it 3 times?
Because it's on 3
two-
discs.
Oh,
it's
man.
One side, 2 side, 1 side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you
Oh,
literally-
man.
I thought it was like a 3-sided disc.
No,
Yeah, I was trying to
it's
figure
just
that out.
two, it's 2
super
discs,
Laserdisc.
and it's on 3 sides.
Boy.
It's a pain in the ass. Is what
Neither
it
of
is.
you have brought up the motorcycle.
I just said the motorcycle jump, which
Oh.
is pretty.
Well, you should bring it up 3 more
I'm,
times.
I'm defending this movie for the 4th of July, not for how awesome Steve McQueen is.
That
But
is
Steve
like the first, second, and fifth argument.
I mean, Steve McQueen is the man. Like
Yeah.
he's not necessarily the main character of this film, no matter how much like the cover art likes to suggest. He's one of the main sub characters, and the movie ends with him.
The movie's more of an ensemble than it is anything.
Yeah.
else.
Aren't Charles Bronson and James Coburn in this too?
Charles Bronson is in it.
Yep.
He's the digger, who has wonderful conflict. He is a guy who's a professional escapee who builds tunnels, but he's claustrophobic. It's like that's like the epitome of getting over things to do your jobs and complete a mission. Like the will of humanity within his own character of being able to overcome his deepest fears to make sure that he can accomplish his goal is amazing.
Yeah, but he's not American, so he doesn't count.
Yes, he is. Charles Bronson's American.
I
Not
think
in the movie.
James Coburn is the guy who walks off at the end. Like he makes it.
Which one's he?
Yeah,
Coburn?
you're right. Yeah, he's the one who kind of gets out of.
Is he the
goes
one-
through Spain or? Out
Oh
of
yeah,
France
he's the
or
one that
whatever,
gets
yeah.
with the French
And
resistance.
then into Spain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is another great sequence when he finds this, perchance happens to go to the right cafe to get with the French resistance. It's amazing.
Let me
lucky.
ask you: is this movie better than Stalag 17?
I haven't seen that.
Billy Wilder,
I haven't seen it.
William
yet.
Holden,
Nope.
nobody.
Nope.
Sorry.
So one argument would be that Stalag 17 is better.
Is it another POW camp movie?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you're gonna
Yeah.
go with a classic POW movie, I would say Stalag 17 might be the better choice. I would say that choosing a movie to win this battle makes you proud to be an American, makes you patriotic. I think this movie is far and away the best movie that has been discussed yet. This is absolutely an American classic, but
Who stars
because-
mostly British people.
as happens. I would say that due to this battle, the proud to be an American theme, because this is so heavily indebted to the horrors of war, which is an ugly reality of our world. War is not a good thing. War is not something that we should salivate over. War is something that when you film it, Steven Spielberg famously said that anytime you shoot a war, it immediately glorifies it because it's so damn exciting. And with this movie, yes, it is a tremendous example of Americans overcoming tremendous
And that's time.
difficulties to succeed. But I just left on a note of positivity.
That's really
Delivering.
unfortunate.
Thank you.
Because you've gotten very good at coming in at the last minute and then ripping somebody's movie totally down.
Yeah.
That time your build up to the takedown was a little too long. So you just end with this really positive note.
Yeah.
Elliot's rooting for Chewie.
Leave it right there. Fine.
Thank you.
Brock, I think it's time for the Burbs.
All right. I chose the Burbs because it's probably the best movie we're going to discuss here today.
I'm sharpening my knives.
It does have a second Star Wars character.
It's a Joe
Princess
Dante
Leia.
film.
I love Joe Dante.
It stars 3 great American actors, Tom Hanks, Bruce Dern, and Corey Feldman. It's about
2 great ones.
coming together as a neighborhood, which you discussed in the Sandlot. Like, that's one of the best things about the 4th of July is coming together with your neighbors for a common theme, which is, hey, these guys are different. Let's see why they're different, and let's get them out of our neighborhood. Which is very American.
It's sadly true.
And plus, the doctor is played by the Nazi and Blues Brothers. So
Yep.
there's some Nazi
Henry
theme.
Gibson? Is that his name?
I believe so.
He's
shit, I
Frasier's dad on Frasier.
No,
No, that's not him then.
No.
No?
It's the
What
guy
am I
that plays the
thinking
Nazi in Blues Brothers. Anyways, the guy's a
Yeah,
Nazi.
it's the same guy. That's the same guy.
No.
Yeah, he's in Say Anything as Ione
It is
Skye's
Henry Gibson.
father.
Is right.
Is
Yeah.
it?
Henry Gibson. Yep.
Well, you said Frasier's dad in
Yeah,
Frasier.
he played more than one part during his career.
All right. I thought you meant the TV show Frasier with the
Yes.
guy with the dog. That's not him.
Yes, it is. No, that's
still-
John Mahoney. God damn it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there
I
it is.
confused them.
Sad trombone.
Okay, so John
gif.
Mahoney, my bad. I totally undercut you, and I apologize. Your time is running out. So
So right at the beginning of the movie, Bruce Dern, a veteran of, I'm assuming, Vietnam, the Lost War. So we should celebrate him already because, you know, he's a veteran. He comes out, he's got a cool rigged system where he puts his flag up, hits a button, and it goes up on his own. He's married to a younger, attractive woman. What old guy wouldn't want to do that? It's very American. You know?
Yep.
I just, this whole movie.
I'm not disagreeing with you at this point.
I want to point out that Chewie left in disgust over this film.
Every time it's because it's American, just like, fuck this amount.
Oh, yeah. And Carrie Fisher's in it, who everyone in America loves as Princess Leia.
Not as the wife in this movie.
Well, she is, but like you see her and you don't think, oh, that's Tom Hanks' wife.
Little known fact, she is the mascot for America, not
Yeah.
the eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How much time do I have?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. I'm trying to think what else I could say. I mean, the movie speaks for itself. Yeah, Tom Hanks is arguably the greatest American living actor, so we got that going for it.
Yeah, that's a tough one to argue with.
Yeah, that's true.
It just got this whole summer vibe to it. Like, Tom Hanks is on vacation. His wife wants to go to the lake, but he wants to hang out with his buddy Art all week and
I don't think he wants to
relax.
hang out with Art. I think he just wants to sit down and not do anything.
He
all
wants to
weekend.
drink beers and listen to the ball game
Yeah.
and show off his tools that he never plans on building
Yeah.
anything.
An American
with.
hero, to be sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's all about coming together and ousting the different people. Which in this day and time, it's just like we're living that right now.
very
I'm not
important.
saying I
Reverse.
agree with it.
I think they reverse that at the end, right? Don't they like realize that, oh, maybe we shouldn't be such...
No, because then it turns
Yeah,
out
but
they
their
were right.
intuitions
Oh, great,
were
good.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
So always
So your
trust your
racism is correct.
Yeah,
your racist-
always trust your intuitions.
It's not if you see something, say something. It's if you feel something,
Do
say
something.
Do something.
Yeah, don't say shit. Just go kick him out of your
Yeah.
your,
Yeah.
your cul-de-sac.
Yeah. You know, sneak into the backyard of your neighbor, dig up whatever
Yeah.
can't find, you know, do a B&E,
Blow up their house.
blow up their house.
And cul-de-sacs are very, very American.
That part is
Yeah.
actually true. Yeah.
And I think the garbage man in the movie had the best line. He's like, people who live on cul-de-sacs are weird people because there's only one way out. Which I think is a great line.
You got 30 seconds. Do you have any final points to make for the
No.
defense in this movie?
No, I think...
No.
How did you ever do 10 minutes?
It's a little bit more conversation and interrupting to try to keep people moving.
Oh, and this was the go-to movie when my dad had me on the weekend.
Oh,
All right, so Elliot, you said you're sharpening your knives. You want to go first this time?
I love Joe Dante.
love Joe
Gremlins,
Dante.
Gremlins 2, Small Soldiers. I'm totally up for Joe Dante. This is a movie where the Corey Feldman character is constantly shouting how funny everything is. I love living in the suburbs because there's all this crazy, funny stuff happening.
And he does break the fourth wall in the last 2 seconds of the movie.
Nothing
Great.
kills a comedy more than a character constantly insisting that what you're seeing is really funny and you should really be laughing and really be enjoying this. Huh?
I
Yeah.
can never get behind this being the movie for America, about America, because I generally hate the suburbs in real life.
Now, I will say that as much as I want to disagree with you, your argument of this is America is sadly accurate.
Yeah.
And I really hate how accurate it is,
that's-
which is why I want to say I disagree with this movie.
But that's not what the 4th of July is about. The 4th of July is not about looking at what we really are. It's about glorifying ourselves.
I mean, in helping his defense, although I don't want to, it is about kicking people out. We want our independence. Get the fuck out.
But America is
Yes.
supposed to be about bringing people in.
This battle, if I understand correctly, is proud to be an American, not horrified to be an American.
Yeah. Give us your poor, give us your odd, give us your oppressed. But I don't know what the poem
Give
is.
us your odd. It's not give us your odd.
Yeah, I know.
Give us
But
your
that's
strange
what
and
we're supposed
bedeviled.
to- We're supposed to be welcoming
Yeah.
to our neighbors.
But I mean, almost again in defense, don't want to defend this one. It's this theme has been kind of what these movies are projecting as, like what makes us, like what is 4th of July, what is American patriotism and all that, like whether it's good or bad or whether we agree with it or disagree with it. I would say, so in one way
Yeah.
that could be the positive or negative.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's kind of going on what Elliot was saying a moment ago. Like when it comes to Joe Dante, like I will see any movie he makes, whether or not it's good. It might take me a while. I still haven't seen Burying the X. Like it might take me a while to get around to it. But there's certain great Joe Dante, and then there's movies like The Explorers, where it's just like, what the
I
fuck
remembered it
am I
fondly as a
watching?
child. We should not have rewatched it.
I put this one more in the Explorers route, where it's like, it's okay.
I'm really sad that I had such great memories of that film, and then rewatched it on a nostalgic night, and now I'm like, oh.
Does it just fall apart in the last 5 minutes, or is it
the
just suck the whole?
entire last third act just completely falls
Okay.
apart. Which is kind of what I feel about this one, because I really love like kind of what Brock was saying. I love the setup for this movie. This whole like crazy cul-de-sac of people. Like it's really cool. Everyone coming together, being pals, and hating those guys. And then it just kind of falls apart. And it never really feels like America to me in any good way, which is fine,
No.
I guess.
Because yeah, that's what the suburbs like stew paranoia and like drug use and.
Brock, do you have anything to say in your defense of this?
There was no drug use.
Oh,
in this movie.
please! Just because you didn't see Corey Feldman use it doesn't mean it wasn't.
There
doing
was
it.
underage drinking. I would imagine they were all underage.
There's definitely underage
But that's
drinking.
very
And
American.
There's no way that
underage
Corey
drinking.
Feldman is not high when he's like, but the pizza guy is coming. The entire last act of the movie, all he talks about is, that's cool, and the pizza guy is coming. And then I like how, as the movie goes on, his voice gets more and more Donatello. So by the end, it's just pure Donatello.
Yeah.
As
He's
soon as
got a
he's
turtle
like,
shell in his back.
yeah, might as well.
It is a prequel after all.
Yeah, that's his.
I just hate the suburbs. Like I hate that as we get older, we're probably going to move into one.
We already did. We live in Burbank.
But it's not
You
really
are the suburb,
a suburb
of California.
But it's not really like not this type of suburb.
It's probably been 20 years since I've seen the movie until last night, and for some reason I thought it happened on 4th of July weekend the entire time.
I mean, it does kind of have that like 4th of July summer vacation feel to it, even though I think it takes place in the fall because they're all wearing like sweatshirts and coats the whole movie.
No, Carrie Fisher's wearing summer dresses the whole time.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
Is Joe Dante Canadian?
I have no idea.
I'm just wondering because this seems talking about how Tom Hanks's character is just kind of he's not fat, but he's just the lazy American who wants to sit on his couch, drink beer.
He's from New Jersey.
And then Joe Dante is?
Yep.
All right, so this is probably based on people he knew. Maybe I don't know what New Jersey is like. I just know the accent.
Most people say New Jersey's not a great place.
I think that the Tom Hanks character is not somebody to idolize. He's kind of an American boob, which is what a lot of uneducated people are like, who fear the unknown and don't want to do anything meaningful with their lives aside from doing the minimum effort required to be a husband and father. And again, I don't think this
brings
is
all of that. Yeah.
I don't think this is an
He's gonna
aspirational
fix
film.
the barbecue at some point this week,
Oh my god.
And that's time.
and he also is gonna get a garage door remote.
Whoa, he's gonna go to Home Depot and spend $1.95.
This is the '80s. I'm sure
It was like 80 cents then.
I love that the final argument. He's gonna fix the barbecue at some point. It's a good final statement. All right, Elliot, you've been bashing everyone's movies very well. Can you defend your own?
I'll try.
Your confidence gives me strength.
All right, it's time.
I will feed you.
Go.
This movie is called Dave. It came out in the early 90s. It is a comedy for grown-ups, the kind of movie that Hollywood does not make anymore. Directed by Ivan Reitman of Ghostbusters fame. Written by Gary Ross, who went on to write and direct Pleasantville, which is another movie I really adore. It is about an ordinary man named Dave, played by Kevin Kline. He has an uncanny resemblance to the President of the United States, Bill Mitchell, also played by Kevin Kline. And he uses it as a way to get a little extra money, appearing as a presidential impersonator at events. The story launches when the real president has his Secret Service guys, led by Ving Rhames, in a hilarious performance, very deadpan.
Very skinny Ving Rhames.
This is pre-Pulp Fiction Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
He goes to get Dave and have him impersonate the president at a public event so that the president can slip off to a hotel room and fuck the brains out of a White House secretary, played
Laura
by
Linney.
Laura Linney. Yep.
Love Laura Linney.
During this extramarital affair, the president has a stroke and falls into a coma. Dave is placed as the replacement for the president by the chief of staff, played by Frank Langella, in a deliciously evil performance. He would go on to play Richard Nixon in Frost Nixon. Great performance. The chief of staff sees this as an opportunity to pull the president's strings, take political power for himself. But Dave isn't going to be a puppet. As he becomes more comfortable with the idea of being the most powerful man in the United States, he sees opportunities to do good things, to extract $650 million from the national budget so that he can fund these homeless shelters throughout the country. Dave is somebody who is placed into this position through sheer circumstance because he's lucky enough to look like the President of the United States. All of us in this room, we didn't earn the right to be Americans. We were just born here through chemistry and luck. And Dave gives us an example, watching this movie, of take the opportunities that you've been given in life and do something positive. Help other people. Live the dream of the American Founding Fathers when they drafted the Declaration of Independence. And with this film, I chose it because it really inspires me, especially in an election cycle that is insane. Horrifying. It inspires me that there are people out there who know what's right, and they're not going to give in to the pressures of capitalism and greed. Dave could go to jail for his entire life if he's found out impersonating the president. It's never been done before, but it's like it probably wouldn't be seen lightly by anyone. So he's putting it all on the line to help other people. And that's beautiful to me. This movie is not only compassionate as hell, it's also extremely funny. It's very well written. Sigourney Weaver plays the First Lady, and she isn't just the clueless wife who's bumbling around as a sidekick. She is actually somebody who is very much the equal of her husband. She sees through the charade immediately, calls him out on it, and there isn't a point where she's just going along with things in the plot like Annie McDowell from Multiplicity or whatever. She is...
Why the dig at Multiplicity?
I'm just firing shots in every direction. She's part of the team, and together she and Dave do that thing with the budget to really make a positive difference in the world. And there's also a cameo from Arnold Schwarzenegger shortly after he filmed Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So this is just like a great, underrated American classic that I think everyone should see.
There's also cameos by shitloads of people in politics.
Also Jay Leno.
Yeah, and Jay Leno. You have 1 minute left if you have anything else you want to say about it before I start saying why you're wrong.
Okay. Other cast members include Ben Kingsley as the vice president. He is somebody who's kind of held in mystery the entire movie. And when we finally see him, I remember watching this movie for the first time and kind of holding my breath because Ben Kingsley has a history of playing heavies in films like Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. And
the movie that had no Persians in it.
This movie, when you finally meet Ben Kingsley, it's kind of a reveal of subverting your expectations. And I think Ben Kingsley, we know him from great films like Sexy Beast. In this movie, he kind of goes off of your expectations a little bit. And he delivers a performance that's really understated and moving. Also in this movie is
5.
Bonnie Hunt.
Bunny Hunt.
She pops up for a second. He's not wrong.
Like a bunny, Bunny Hunt.
Okay, so here's the thing with Dave. You say it's hilarious. I don't think I laughed like more than twice in the whole movie. It doesn't really tickle my funny bone, to say the least. I agree with what you're saying. It's a very sweet movie. It's very endearing and nice. So Sigourney Weaver does not realize. She does not realize for a while into the movie that he's not.
She doesn't spend any time with the president at all, so there's no opportunity for her to.
But she sees him naked and still doesn't recognize that that's not her husband. Like, she walks in on him in the shower and then he just kind of stands there and she still doesn't realize that that's not him.
If you saw an exact copy of Brian naked in the shower,
face up. I mean, we don't know neck down.
The answer is yes. I know the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because every single person has their own body language
and penis,
and you would have to spend an exuberant amount of time to be able to duplicate somebody's mannerisms, honestly, and I do not believe that he would be able to do it.
And their mannerisms.
Any wife who is actually in love with her husband would
and she's
know
not.
immediately.
She's not.
She's
she
not
does,
in love
she
with
does
him.
hate
She
Okay.
hates him.
that.
She spends no time
So there's
with him.
the defense there.
I would say this is the classic face-off argument of whether John Travolta could successfully imitate Nicolas Cage and vice versa, and to a certain extent, that's just suspension of disbelief.
I'll give you that much. There's the suspension of disbelief, but for me, this movie has a big ask of you need to suspend the disbelief that she wouldn't recognize him, that the people wouldn't recognize him. They do bring up there's one guy on a conspiracy.
Oliver
thing.
Stone.
Was it
one
Oliver
guy.
Stone? I didn't realize that was Oliver Stone.
Yeah, this is right after JFK, so having him
okay.
is
That
very
makes sense.
For
timely.
me,
Yeah,
the big
that's
thing
good.
with this film is I don't try to tout myself as the world's biggest movie person, but I do credit myself that I can recognize a film whether or not I've actually seen it or remember that it happened. This film, I had no memory of.
Just didn't even click on the radar.
Until you said... I kept forgetting that this movie was even a thing until he just mentioned that Kevin Kline starred in it. And then I went, oh, a
How
little
old
bit
were
in my
you in
brain.
1993?
1993, I was 10. But I remember a lot of movies from 1993.
This was aimed at adults.
Doesn't matter. I still remember that movies happened, specifically because I like Kevin Kline. And I forgot this movie happened.
I mean, but Kevin Kline, to his credit, Kevin Kline does do a great job in this movie, as both the dickhole president
But
and
the importance
Dave.
level of this film goes completely flat when it's just completely gone from my brain, in my mind, in my opinion, more so. And you say it's a great thing about the representation of the humans of the being American, but the way you describe it, I mean, I did not get a chance to watch this with Brian because I worked some days this week. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I know I'm not supposed to mention that,
You're
but it's
not.
pretty obvious in the way that I'm talking about it. To me, the way this film actually represents something that I hate about America is nepotism and people getting into positions they don't deserve because of dumb luck. That's actually something I don't like about life in general, is somebody getting a really high-ranking position because they just kind of either slept their way to it or whatnot, happened to look like the person. That's not a good reason to get a job.
I will make the argument in defense of the movie because, like I said, it's not bad. It's a very sweet movie. He might not have deserved to be the president, but he actually does a very good job with the job.
Does he fuck it up at some point?
Nope.
No. Like I mentioned, we didn't deserve the right to be Americans. We were just born here. So much about life is just lucky breaks. So many filmmakers and actors, they got the career they got because they happened to run into this person or show up for this one thing, and it launched them on something great. There are so many people in life in general who are, very wealthy or very successful, and it doesn't mean they're better than all the other person that are trying to get to that level. It just means that they caught a lucky break. And what matters isn't that you caught the lucky break. What matters is what you do once you have that lucky break. And so for me, this is an example of when you get put into a position where it's very easy to just be corrupt and take money and be an asshole to everybody around you, but really making the effort to leave the place better than when you got there. Dave works at a temp agency at the start of this movie, and he's constantly trying to find work for unemployed people. Like, his life's mission is to help other people. And so when he gets into the Oval Office, he tries to do that on a much bigger scale, when really he has all the luxuries of being a president, which means he could just go on Comedians in Cars with Coffee and chit-chat with Jerry Seinfeld all day long.
That wasn't a thing in '93.
Oh, that's correct.
shit.
That kills the
You're
argument.
just
his
starting.
whole argument.
How
And
can I
the
not
timer's
realize
up.
that?
When did Seinfeld start?
Damn.
No,
89.
Seinfeld started what in '90?
89.
That was the block in which the Jenga tower.
Yeah.
Comedians in Cars.
Elliot almost was going to win it there, and then he had to go and be wrong about time.
Yeah. You'd think I would have known that because I don't think YouTube was around in 93.
It was not.
Yeah.
And you're thinking
Weird
about my
lapse.
age. Jurassic Park came out in 92. I was 9.
93.
93. Whatever.
93.
Still, I was.
Oh, you.
I
And that was a
remember-
movie that was aimed at
Chewie
children.
just lost hers.
How did I ever lose it? I remember that movie very specifically.
Not specifically the year.
Whatever.
Oh man, yesterday in 2010. Oh shit, I got it too.
I mean,
I would've said
it's just
93 or
like this.
94.
I mentioned this is an adult comedy. Like, yes, it's not hilarious like Animal House or something.
Yes.
But it's something that
Animal House
is.
isn't that funny.
It's not either.
I
It's
wasn't
funnier
even-
than this.
I wasn't even born when The Great Escape came out, and it's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, I did mention that this movie was underrated.
That was part of the argument, to be
It
fair.
was underrated, and
But
that's completely
At
forgot.
this point,
Yeah,
it's time to
underrated
start
and forgotten.
voting on who wins the day.
We're all just
gotta
darting
cut
eyes
through
at
this.
each
Man,
other.
you know what?
Yeah.
This is great because we got heated, and that was very much American.
I was keeping my eyes on the
I'm
weapons
right,
that are
you're
on this table.
At some point, somebody reaches for the plastic shotgun. I'm right.
There might still be pellets in that.
They're both kind of pointed at me, so that's not assuring.
Perfect.
It's American spin the bottle.
It's pretty good. Okay, so for today, we're going to vote. Can't vote for your own. Okay, Elliot, since you've been talking the most recently, we're just going to go in reverse order. Is basically
That's
what I'm
kind of
saying.
America right there. You're the last thing I can remember.
You're the last
so-
thing to remember that where you win.
All right.
So
Part of the podcast where we filibuster the winner of this.
yeah, I was just like, you were gonna say time's up, and it's like I'm not. I'm not being silenced.
Gonna keep talking.
I was about to go into my Star Wars Avengers crossover.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So, all right. So it was Sandlot,
Sandlot,
Red Dawn,
Great Escape.
Great Escape, The
Burbs.
Burbs, Dave. So I will vote for The Great Escape because in viewing this contest of being proud to be an American, the one that fills you with the most national pride, that makes you look up at those fireworks exploding in the sky and being genuinely moved by them, I think that The Great Escape is an incredible example of Americans refusing to give up and doing something that should be absolutely impossible, but through teamwork and cooperation and ingenuity, making it happen. Yes, they didn't all get out alive at the end, but, you know, the fact that some of them did makes it worth it. It's better to save a few people than none of them at all. There's no indication of what happened to Steve McQueen at the end, is
No,
there?
he goes back in the. That's the end.
He
of the
goes
movie.
back
Sent
into the cooler.
Yeah.
But we don't know, like, there isn't a postscript that says,
No.
like, he was eventually rescued.
I mean, if you know anything about World War II, you know that they probably
oh, yeah,
got
Captain
out
American
there.
got
they
him.
they got saved rather soon because they were in jail. They were all in the prison for like 3.5 years already at this point. So you get the feeling that the war's already almost over anyway.
So they should have just, like, hung tight.
Well, they didn't know that.
Yes.
But we know that in hindsight.
So Brock, what are you voting for, and what are you not voting for?
What am I gonna vote for? I would say the Sandlot because
Yeah,
it is it's timeless. You can rewatch it as many times as possible, and it never really gets old.
It's pretty great.
And I played on the rich kids field growing up.
Oh.
That's my tie-in. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Sandlot.
I want to vote for myself, but I
You
know I
can't.
So I will vote for The Sandlot.
Hell yeah, you will.
Beyond all of the things that you listed, Brian, with my own personal feelings on it, I agree with a lot of things you say that makes the movie great. It is a timeless film, and it is a type of film that anyone can get into. There's enough archetype representations of characters in there that you can all relate. And as a woman who has been taught her entire life to relate with men when men don't relate with women, I did get into all those guys. Like, I did see parts of myself in all those dudes. And every time they yelled, "You throw like a girl," I was annoyed. I'd be like, I could throw that at your face and you'd be bleeding. But I don't get to actually do that in this film, so I'll just go with it.
They address it in the sequel.
Yeah, they do, after a while.
You've actually seen The Sandlot too.
Yeah.
Why didn't you nominate that one?
Because I've seen The Sandlot too.
And it has Darth Vader in it, and a big old dog that just misunderstood, and you just need to cuddle with it.
Who's a
It'll be
misunderstood
fine.
boy?
So it's got lots of things in it that I enjoy.
All right, quick answer. I'm going to go with Great Escape.
Okay.
And the long answer is it was tough. I enjoyed all these movies. And a lot of it did end up boiling down to very just minute arguments on each one. And you can sell nostalgia to a heartless bastard like me. So that really is points in its favor. And through you talking about it, I was like, maybe I can. Maybe that does feel like something that maybe I didn't necessarily catch while watching it, but it's like, okay, I kind of feel this connection to the summers, and July 4th is the summers, and there's a feeling of childhood and time, ageless, and all that sort of stuff kind of boiled together. But the human spirit argument is what won the Great Escape in that.
Okay, so we have 2 for Sandlot and 2 for Great Escape. So I could give it to Great Escape and have there not be a tie, or I could vote for Dave like I want to. So I'm going to vote for Dave.
Really? Because you didn't sound like you loved that movie.
I didn't, but here's the deal, is that I went into today hoping that Brock would sell me on the Burbs, because I really wanted to vote for the Burbs because I love Joe Dante, and I really wanted to see how I was going to spin, and the only thing that Brock did with his argument was make me horrified to be an American. So the Burbs comes in a close second because I think he does a great job Brock did a great job explaining why this movie is America in the worst way, shape, and form. And if it wasn't for the fact that the argument of Dave is this is what it is to be an American in the best way, shape, and form, I would have voted for the Burbs. I'm sad that The Sandlot can't be the runaway winner, but I can't vote for my own. But I will vote for Dave, and that's not just to not give it to The Great Escape. I actually think Dave.
So then we have a tie.
What happened is that The Great Escape and The Sandlot, they canceled each other out, and then Dave wins.
Yeah, The Sandlot.
Politics! Woohoo!
The Sandlot is the young version, and the Great Escape is the old version.
Yeah,
They still love baseball in both
These
films.
kids are going to go
They
on
do.
to
To
escape
go be
greatly.
POWs. So I will say that this is a tie, but if you do feel that one movie should be the winner and one shouldn't be the winner, please go on Facebook. Let us know which one you thought was better, which one that you thought should be the winner, or if there's just a different 4th of July movie that you wish would have won, let us know. We're happy to hear it and tell you that you're wrong. Or unless you're right, which you probably won't be. So
Chances are slim.
Yeah, chances are very slim. So we're going to do plugs. But stick around to find out answer to this question. What is the best way to celebrate the 4th of July? The best way to celebrate the 4th of July. So you can follow us on Facebook at After the Hype, on Twitter at ATH_podcast, and everywhere else it's just ATH Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at CensorLord. Censor is spelled with a Z. You can find my 1 to 2 tweets a month if you're lucky. And you can find me on Instagram at I already just said it, CensorLord. Twitter is YBRYAN'Y. I can remember all these things. It doesn't matter because I barely tweet and barely Instagram, maybe once or twice a month. So you don't have to follow me. Don't worry about it. John?
Movie Guy John on most social platforms.
Chewie?
Chewie9 on most social platforms. All one word, the number spelled out, and with an IE.
Brock?
Brock Walters on all social platforms.
All of them? Even Snapchat?
Oh, I'm not on Snapchat.
Well,
we
then I guess I'll
should.
never
I guess
connect
We're
with you.
not
Yeah.
tweens, okay?
Oh, hey,
I am
it's
on
a big deal.
Nextdoor, which is the Facebook of my neighborhood, but I'm just under Brock on that.
Okay.
But you have to live in my neighborhood.
I'll be
Very exclusive and xenophobic.
Our,
just like the Burbs.
Whenever I
like the
hear your
Burbs.
name, I think Brock Sampson.
Our old
Brock from
apartment,
Pokemon.
Well, I got a postcard in the mail being like, download this app and sign up, and I was like, oh, this
our
is
old
gonna be
apartment
awesome.
complex in Culver City had a social network. It was interesting because you could tell when the internet went out. Because
Were you engaged?
no, not really.
It's really weird.
my girlfriend will not let me post, and because it's just people bickering about noise levels in the neighborhood.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
Every one of my posts would be, what?
My internet's not fast enough. Oh, why am I
the
paying this
suburbs,
rent?
people bickering about noise.
Elliot?
I am on Twitter at EscapeELL. You can find both of my podcasts, Beyond School and Superhero Sampler, on iTunes and Facebook.
Cool. So the answer for the absolute best way to celebrate the 4th of July, I will go first. The absolute best way to celebrate the 4th of July is staying at home, in air conditioning, playing video games by yourself. Every now and then, screaming, America! That's my vote.
Seeing some nice fireworks. I haven't done that in a while, and I miss it.
Okay.
I'll just go with my favorite version of 4th of July was back in Chicago for the fireworks display where everyone would gather around the lake and they would actually shut down downtown Chicago. So after the fireworks were done, you could just go around walking in the middle of the street, walking up Lakeshore Drive, completely safe from getting hit by cars. And there was something magical about that.
Yeah, every 4th of July in Chicago, I stayed in my apartment by myself playing video games. America! Brock, what about you?
My favorite would be my hometown always had a parade in the morning.
Oh, nice.
And then you went to the city park and they had food vendors, games, music, and all that. And usually after that, you'd go somewhere and watch the fireworks, and that was my favorite.
Cool.
I get super hot in my apartment, so hot that I Google where the nearest pools are, and then I get too lazy to even drive out there. And I also remember that I don't own a swimming suit, so it's just the same ritual that happens every year.
Oh, I want to go to a pool. Pool's too
I
far.
thought you were going to
I don't
go
have a
down
swimsuit.
with I'm going to reenact the Sandlot. It doesn't even matter if the lifeguard's hot or a dude. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like, I do recreate that scene from The Sandlot, but I play Wendy Peppercorn.
Okay, so,
Nobody ever takes me up on that.
okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much again to Brock Walters and Elliot Campos for coming out. And I will say a big goodbye.
Bye.